Chapter 51 Provoking the Giant Bird Monster King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandma, what kind of bird is this? Originally, Taihang was shocked enough when he saw the giant bird monster that was more than 5 meters tall, but now, what appeared behind him was a giant bird monster that was 7 or 8 meters long. Behind it, there were hundreds of giant birds of various sizes. Ah, no, fellow bird brothers, I'm just passing by. However, there was no way that the giant bird monster would let Taihang go, and it directly attacked Taihang with a gust of wind and residual clouds. Taihang teleported away, seeing that there was nothing he could do anymore, and he didn't want to fight these giant bird monsters, so, Taihang said, "That big bird, I don't want to fight you for the time being, because you are all mine in the end, I'm leaving first." Taihang said and disappeared. This huge bird monster is no ordinary bird monster, it is the giant bird monster king. Not long after we walked, we encountered 2 waves of difficult gregarious beasts. Fortunately, my teleportation ability is not bad, otherwise it would be difficult to escape. However, Taihang, who had discovered the beauty of the strategy, had already figured out how to deal with this matter. The giant crocodile must be taken down, and the giant bird monster must also be taken down. My main task in the forest of ferocious beasts is to get a pet illustrated book. Taihang could already imagine the army of pets behind him. Quack. The more Taihang thought about it, the more beautiful it became. Then I came to the place where I met the giant crocodile not long ago and found that they were all resting. Taihang came over with some confusion and greeted them. "Brother crocodiles, call your king to come out." Taihang said. Hearing Taihang's voice, all the giant crocodiles opened their eyes and looked at Taihang. Among them, one was provoked by Taihang. "Call out." As a result, what responded to Taihang was water jets. Although he dodged them, Taihang still felt a headache. "Hey, it seems that if I don't deal with you, you don't know why the flowers are so red." After saying that, Taihang rushed over and beat these giant crocodiles violently. Ding. Trigger the tens of billions multiplier effect. Your power is full, causing absolute instant kill damage to targets at the foundation level and below. This effect will automatically increase with the level. Bang! Suddenly, the head of a giant crocodile was blown apart. Another giant crocodile bit at Taihang, but Taihang grabbed the giant crocodile's mouth and tore it in half. A giant crocodile flew towards it. Taihang kicked it and the giant crocodile disappeared into the sky. Taihang felt that this was too cruel. Gulu. Taihang looked at the other crocodiles. They were immediately frightened, turned around and ran away, and soon disappeared on the water surface. Am I too invincible? This tens of billions of times increase is indeed terrifying. Although it only has an effect on people of the same realm and below, whether it is dodge or strength, it will have an absolute effect in the future. In other words, after his realm is improved, these values of his will be filled up automatically. By then, he will still be invincible in the new realm. Too strong. Taihang couldn't see the giant crocodile king, so he didn't intend to let them go, but screamed at the river. "Idiots, call your king and I will meet them." However, no matter what Taihang said, everything was calm on the river. Occasionally, I found a giant crocodile emerging from the water, and it immediately retracted under the water. The corners of Taihang's mouth twitched. "Damn it, are you going to let me go into the water?" Seeing the current situation, Taihang estimated that it would not be that easy to capture the giant crocodile king. "Forget it, come back next time. Since you can't take down the giant crocodile king, you can go and deal with the giant bird monster king first." Taihang cursed and left. Wang Xuanwu, who was hiding aside and peeking, was once again stunned by Taihang. "My mother, is my precious disciple so fierce?" The entire river of Foundation Establishment realm giant crocodile scared him so much that he didn't even dare to come out. Wang Xuanwu only felt that Taihang was too perverted. Fortunately, this is in the forest of fierce beasts. If someone else discovers that this kid has this kind of strength outside, I'm afraid he will be killed. Wang Xuanwu sighed softly. Then, she thought about the Black Soul Palace. I guess they will find this place soon. Hey, my stupid apprentice, why are you still carrying that black soul card? Isn't this a way for others to find you? Wang Xuanwu shook his head, and then drank. Under her body, the giant crocodile king was lying. The giant crocodile king was trembling while looking at the pair of perverted masters and disciples. Just now, it could see clearly, his own people were punched and kicked by Li Taixing, and they were completely powerless to fight back, and it wanted to sneak attack the woman in front of it, but in the end, this terrifying woman stepped on her foot. Just a look from the other party scared it so much that it didn't dare to move, and by the way, it became someone else's sitting cushion. The terrifying aura coming from her body made the giant crocodile king dare not even breathe loudly, for fear of being killed by this woman. My apprentice seems to be looking for you. Next time he comes to see you, come out obediently, you know. Otherwise, I will make you into a roasted crocodile. The giant crocodile king nodded obediently. Very good. After Wang Xuanwu finished speaking, he disappeared from the giant crocodile king. The giant crocodile king felt his body lighten, and all the pressure on his body disappeared. He looked around quickly, but could not see any human figure. He immediately rushed into the river at a speed of 120 miles per hour, and vowed not to easily emerge from the water again. It was too scary. Li Taihang had already arrived at the place where the giant bird monsters gathered. Now, Li Taihang also knew why there were so many giant bird monsters here. There were a large number of giant bird monster nests on both sides of this cliff. It seems that I accidentally broke into this place last time and was regarded as an enemy. However, it is not easy for me to take down the giant bird monster king. This guy is a social creature. If you kill one, you have to fight a group. Li Taihang was really worried. If the giant bird monster was killed, this guy might have a blood feud with him, and it would not be so easy to subdue him. Forget it, you have to be patient to subdue them. According to the system's regulations, Li Taihang must let them surrender to him sincerely. If he uses telekinesis to control them forcibly, it will be useless. So, you still have to show your strength. Li Taihang thought to himself. Then, he thought of a plan. The first plan, show off your muscles. So, Li Taihang came to the cliff where the giant bird monsters were and appeared in a high-profile manner. When the giant bird monsters saw him, they all showed hostile eyes and locked their eyes on Li Taihang. Even the giant bird monster king, when he saw Li Taihang, had a dangerous light in his eyes, as if he was ready to kill Li Taihang at any time. Chapter 52, Conquering the Giant Bird Monster King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ahem, everyone, I'm just here to challenge your king, not you. With Li Taihang's current strength, it would not be difficult to kill them, but, he didn't want to. Come on, giant bird monster king, fight with me. If you win, I will let you do whatever you want. If you lose, you will be my little brother. The giant bird monster king seemed to understand Li Taihang's words and rushed towards Li Taihang. Those giant bird monsters didn't follow. Li Taihang saw it coming and said, okay, it's just the right time. In order to prevent the bird's head from blowing with one punch, Li Taixing also rushed over. The giant bird monster king's sharp claws clawed at his head. Li Taixing stretched out his hand and grasped its sharp claws tightly. Bang! Li Taixing threw it over his shoulder and threw the giant bird monster from the air to the mountain below. Boom! The giant bird monster king screamed. Suddenly, many giant bird monsters became restless and wanted to attack Li Taihang. Li Taihang said disdainfully, Giant bird monster king, you can't afford to play with me. After hearing Li Taihang's words, the giant bird monster king seemed to know the shame. It yelled, and the giant bird monsters all fell silent. At this time, the giant crocodile king, who had fled to the river near the giant bird monster, seemed to hear the noise and quietly surfaced. Looking at Li Taihang in the air, he suddenly felt puzzled. Boom! The giant bird monster king soared into the sky and shot towards Li Taihang like a sharp arrow that had been taken off its string. Li Taihang saw this and easily dodged. The giant bird monster king passed by Li Taihang, soared straight into the sky, and reached the sky. It stared at Li Taihang below. Then it flapped its wings. A huge wind force hit Li Taihang, and the huge wind force blew him backwards. Li Taixing stretched out his hand to protect his eyes, and cursed secretly, "The smell of this giant bird monster king is so strong that it has been blown all the way to me. Damn it. After you come back and clean it up, be sure to give it a good bath." Then, Li Taixing's figure flashed and disappeared. The next moment, Li Taihang appeared on the giant bird monster king, and stepped on its head gently. Bang! The giant bird monster king screamed in pain and almost fell down. It looked angrily at Li Taixing above it. Boom boom. It flapped its wings again, and a gust of wind roared up, turning into a sharp blade and slashing towards Li Taihang. "I'll dodge." Li Taixing dodged left and right, being very flexible and dodging the wind blade attacks from the giant bird monster king. The giant bird monster king was furious and screamed again. This time, the sound actually had penetrating sound waves, piercing Li Taihang's eardrums. Suddenly, Li Taixing's movements froze. "Depend on." Li Taixing exclaimed. "Not good." At this time, the giant bird monster king seized the opportunity and came to Li Taihang's side in an instant, pecking at his body. If this blow had hit, Li Taihang's chest would have been disemboweled, and his body might have been cut into 2 pieces. However, at the critical moment, Wang Xuanwu was preparing to rescue Li Taihang. However, Li Taixing snorted coldly and said, "Get lost." Suddenly, the impact with telekinesis hit the giant bird monster king directly. The giant bird monster king's forward body suddenly stopped. Not only that, but also kept tossing and retreating frequently as if it was drowning. Li Taixing's mental impact just now caused terrible damage to its head, and almost exploded its brain. At this time, its eyes looked at Li Taihang, full of fear. "You, surrender, or die." Seeing the cold aura in Li Taixing's eyes, the giant bird monster king had just experienced the threat of death once, and now he no longer wanted to experience it again. However, it was unwilling to surrender. "I know you are dissatisfied, but according to our agreement, you have already lost. If I hadn't shown mercy just now, do you think you would have survived?" As soon as Li Taixing said these words, the giant bird monster king also understood it instantly. Then, it flew downwards, landed on the ground, and lowered its proud head. With this attitude, he has obviously given in. Li Taixing was very satisfied and flew down. When the giant bird monsters below saw Li Taihang flying over, they all gave way and did not dare to approach Li Taihang. After all, Li Taihang had defeated their king, and their king also surrendered to the humans in front of him. "Very well, give me your essence." The giant bird monster king offered his essence, which was taken into Li Taihang's hand, blended into his hand, and disappeared. Ding! Congratulations to the host for conquering the giant bird monster king and obtaining the giant bird monster king *10 billion. Note, except for the original body, they are all clones. The clones are not rational, but they are absolutely loyal. Ha ha ha. Li Taihang was very happy after he subdued the giant bird monster king again. Moreover, there are 10 billion giant bird monster kings. At this time, Li Taihang also sensed the existence of the giant crocodile king and was very surprised. "Hey, is this the giant crocodile king? I asked you why I didn't see it before, but I didn't expect it to come here." Li Taihang stared at the giant crocodile king below. The giant crocodile king suddenly felt something bad and was about to sink into the water. However, Li Taihang had disappeared. When it was about to sink, Li Taihang had already appeared in front of it, dragging its tail and pulling it ashore. The giant crocodile king was confused. It struggled desperately, but found that its strength was not as good as Li Taihang. This made it confused. Li Taihang's strength to the same level is 1,000,000,000 times greater. If the giant crocodile king has 100 points of strength, then Li Taihang has 1,000,000,000,000 points of strength, which makes Li Taihang dare not be too rough. Otherwise, what if he catches it to death? But the giant crocodile king obviously didn't want to be caught like this, and began to spray circles of bubbles towards Li Taihang. Li Taihang saw the bubbles and activated his telekinesis. Puff! Puff puff! Suddenly, all the bubbles that had just emerged burst on the top of the giant crocodile king's head. At this time, the giant bird monster king flew down and landed beside Li Taihang, as if asking Li Taihang if he needed help. Li Taihang said, "Get out of the river and wash yourself clean before you come out. You smell so strong. How can I ride you in the future?" Hearing Li Taihang's words, the giant bird monster king was confused. He came down to help out of kindness, but was actually despised by Li Taihang. "Hurry up." Li Taihang said unhappily. The giant bird monster king could only rush to the river to take a bath with grievance, while the giant crocodile king watched himself being dragged ashore, with an uncertain future, and kept shouting "Ga, as if to say, "Hey, brother, let's exchange positions, okay?" Chapter 53 Crocodile Tears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bang! The giant crocodile king was thrown away by Li Taihang and hit a big tree hard, making its head dizzy. Pooh bang! The giant crocodile king fell to the ground. Giant crocodile king, let's talk about a choice between two options. First, you fight with my giant bird monster king. If you win, I will let you go. If you lose, your essence will be given to me. Second, my giant bird monster king fights with you. If you win, you will leave. If you lose, your essence will still belong to me. The giant bird monster king who was bathing in the river was happy when he heard it, thinking that he could finally come forward. The giant crocodile king recovered, but thinking about what Li Taihang said, it didn't understand the difference between the two. However, it couldn't speak and couldn't communicate. He looked at Li Taihang in front of him, and then looked at the giant bird monster king in the river, and nodded. Obviously, it accepted Li Taihang's conditions. Anyway, it was fighting with the giant bird monster king, so it patted the ground. Indicates choice one. Take a shot, choose one, right? Li Taihang asked. The giant crocodile king nodded. Okay, come out, my warriors. After saying that, the giant bird monster king in the river was about to fly up, but before it flew up, Li Taihang glared at him and said, "I didn't call you, go back and continue to take a bath, don't come up if you are not clean." The giant bird monster king was confused. If he was not called, who else would be the giant bird monster king? But the giant crocodile king was happy. If he was not called, then the other giant bird monsters would not have a king, so it would be much easier to deal with them. He couldn't help but smile with his eyes narrowed. However, he soon couldn't laugh, because he suddenly found that dozens of giant bird monster kings appeared around him without knowing when. The giant crocodile king was a little scared, took a few steps back, and hit the tree. He looked at the giant bird monster kings in front of him, and for some reason, he felt that they were a little evil, and they were also very scary. What made him even more panicked was that they stared at him as if they were going to eat him. The giant crocodile king slapped the ground twice. Li Taihang imitated it and smiled, saying, "Do you want to choose the second one?" The giant crocodile king nodded. Hurriedly. "Well, I am also a good man. Since you regret it, I will give you a chance." After that, Li Taihang took back all the giant bird monster kings around him. The giant crocodile king breathed a sigh of relief and secretly congratulated himself on his wisdom. The giant bird monster king in the water looked at the many kinds of twin brothers that had just appeared, and it was also full of confusion. When did I have so many twin brothers? However, their eyes looked much more terrifying than it. At this time, Li Taihang finally got rid of all its twin brothers, and it also breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that this time, it's time for me to play. It even shouted happily. As a result, Li Taihang frowned and said, "Giant bird monster king, I don't want to say it for the third time. I didn't ask you to get up, and you kept bathing in the river. Otherwise, I would chop you up and roast you for food." The giant bird monster king was frightened and hurried to the river to bathe. While bathing, he looked at Li Taihang with grievance and resentment. "It was you who asked me to go up, why didn't you let me go up? Could it be that you have other twin brothers of mine?" And Li Taihang's eyes also fell on the giant crocodile king, with a playful smile on his face, which made the giant crocodile king feel hairy, and felt like a fruit girl being looked at naked by others. "Giant bird monster king, come out." Suddenly, a large number of giant bird monster kings appeared around, which was more than the last time. the giant crocodile king's chin immediately fell to the ground and could not close it for a long time, and the giant bird monster king who was bathing in the river fell into the river and drank mouthfuls of river water, choking it to tears. The crocodile king was so angry that if he could speak, he would have cursed Li Taihang. This was too much. What? My own choice. Shoot. The crocodile king slapped again without hesitation. Compared with the chaos of the demons, he preferred less. Anyway, he would die, so he would not die so miserably, but at this time, Li Taihang was not happy. He pointed at the crocodile king and cursed, "You damn crocodile king, if you keep picking on me, be careful that I will peel your skin, pull your tendons, and dig your meat." Ha! The crocodile king could only protest. Who was the one who was so hateful? Okay, I've decided to send you to heaven because you are so ignorant. Li Taihang was clearly going to kill him. The crocodile king looked at the giant bird monster kings approaching him, and his face was suddenly filled with fear. Ha! It kept begging, but Li Taihang ignored it. Seeing that he was about to be dismembered, the giant crocodile king quickly offered his essence. Stop. Seeing it offer its essence, Li Taihang nodded with satisfaction and said, "For your good sense, I'll let you go this time." Woo woo. The giant crocodile king shed crocodile tears, very sad, and his essence was also taken by Li Taihang. Ding. Congratulations on conquering the giant crocodile king, triggering the 10 billion times amplification effect, and obtaining the giant crocodile king *10 billion. Li Taihang immediately laughed triumphantly. Wahahaha. Li Taihang laughed arrogantly. The giant crocodile king looked at him with a flattering look on his face, and the giant bird monster king in the river was doubting his life. Just now there were dozens of twin brothers. Now there are hundreds of twin brothers. Is my mother too fertile? If she hadn't died early, I would have asked clearly, how many twin brothers do I have? Wang Xuanwu, who was observing secretly, looked at the wine jar in his hand and murmured, "Have I drunk too much fake wine recently? Am I hallucinating? I just saw hundreds of giant bird monster kings preparing to beat up a giant crocodile king. Too brutal. Well, it must be that my disciple gave me fake wine. I'll ask him to compensate me with hundreds of jars later." Wang Xuanwu still found it difficult to accept. It even felt incomprehensible. After Li Taihang was proud at this time, he coughed lightly and said, "Okay, listen, giant crocodile king, from now on, your name is Majia." The giant crocodile king was full of doubts. It was obviously not a horse. Why was it called Majia? Then, Li Taihang looked at the giant bird king who was almost full of water in the river and said, "You stupid bird, if you drink more, I can make a grill and roast you and eat you." The giant bird king was frightened and came to his senses in an instant. He quickly induced vomiting and vomited his stomach, which was as swollen as a pregnant woman, back to its original state, but there were still many fish in it, jumping out of its mouth. "Just call yourself the stupid bird," Li Taihang said unhappily. The giant bird king was happy to get the name of the stupid bird. Although the giant crocodile king next to him could not speak, he laughed so hard that the crocodile's tears flowed out. Chapter 54 Punishing These Disobedient Pets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the evening, Li Taixing was already a little late. Ma Jia and Silly Bird followed Li Taixing to Xiong Air's cave. Xiong Air was sleeping soundly when he suddenly noticed a strange breath coming in. When he looked up, he saw a giant bird monster king and was startled. Then, it saw a giant crocodile king, and its bare eyes suddenly widened. When it came back and saw Li Taixing lying on the giant crocodile king, it was so surprised that its jaw almost dropped. "Ah! Are you here?" Li Taixing yawned and got off the waistcoat. Then he glanced at Xiong Jing again and said, "Xiong Air, waistcoat, Silly Bird, get ready to eat. By the way, Xiong Air, these are my two new pets, Waist Jacket and Silly Bird. He will be your boss from now on, do you understand?" Both Ma Jia and Silly Bird nodded, but Silly Bird's eyes were filled with a touch of sadness. When Xiong Jing saw Li Taihang's behavior, he guessed that Li Taihang had subdued them. "I couldn't help but admire Li Taihang very much, and at the same time, I was secretly glad that I was the first to become Li Taihang's pet, and the other two were behind him. This gives it a natural sense of superiority. Immediately afterwards, Li Taixing calculated the appetite of these three big guys and said, "How much can you eat?" "Hey, forget it, you all can't speak, so asking is in vain." After speaking, Li Taixing waved his hand, and mountains of roasted suckling pigs suddenly appeared on the ground. The fragrance floats far away, but Li Taixing didn't even look at it and said, "You guys can eat, I'll go in and rest for a while." When Xianxia saw the mountain-like roasted suckling pig, he rushed forward excitedly, picked up one, and ate it, but Ma Jia and Silly Bird were dumbfounded. They seemed to have never seen such a domineering human being, actually providing them with such rich and delicious food. Woo! Crocodile tears. Woo! The giant bird monster king cried, "If I had known that my master was so awesome and treated me so well, I would have stopped talking to him. After being beaten and threatened, my little heart almost stopped, especially the giant bird monster king, who even wanted to die, and actually got the name of a stupid bird. Quack. Afterwards, the two of them turned their grief and anger into appetite, and started to eat in big mouthfuls, one bite at a time, which would kill Xianxia. It looked at itself and saw that it was holding a roasted suckling pig, biting and eating them one by one. These two are simply beasts. The giant crocodile king bit into a roasted suckling pig and swallowed it from head to tail. He swallowed it all without even taking a bite. Look at the giant bird monster king again, he is a beast among beasts. Relying on his tall body, he picked up a roasted suckling pig, tossed it, sliced it, and swallowed it. Well, there was no roasted suckling pig. This speed is simply too fast. When Xianxia came back to his senses, he found that the mountain of roasted suckling pig had disappeared from the top of the mountain. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Xianxia immediately installed a motor in his mouth and began to bite quickly. I thought to myself, I must not be slower than them, otherwise, how can I be their boss? After a while, Mrs. Li walked out, and he was about to say something to them. Suddenly, I saw all three of them lying on the ground with their bellies in the air, burping one after another, looking contented. It seems that this amount is a bit large, please reduce it appropriately next time. Li Taihang didn't want them to overeat, otherwise, they will not be digested well, and if there is a sudden battle, these three idiots will become decorations, useless. Then, Li Taihang did not forget to remind, no one of you can come in without my calling. Also, Xianxia, watch those two idiots and don't let them cause trouble. In addition, the three of you will treat me well tonight. Watch the door. Xianxia stretched out his hand and waved it, indicating that he had received it. Li Taihang yawned and went back to the cave to sleep. None of them knew that in a big tree, Wang Xuanwu looked at the three pets that were full of food. She bit a chicken butt and shed tears. No, I will definitely ask my disciple to compensate me with hundreds of roast chickens later. Early the next morning, Li Taixing got up. When he came outside, he saw a large open space dozens of meters ahead. Silly Bird hugged the vest, and Xianxia rested his head on the vest's belly. Feeling cold, he stretched out his hand and pulled one of Silly Bird's feathers, covering himself. Silly Bird shivered, but seemed not to notice, and continued. Sleep. Seeing the appearance of these three pets, Li Taihang felt for the first time that the copied pets were still reliable. If it were these three idiots, they would only know how to eat and sleep every day, and they would die without knowing how, Li Taihang thought, and suddenly, dozens of giant bird monsters appeared, dozens of giant crocodile kings appeared, and dozens of bear spirits appeared. Go and beat them awake. Under Li Taixing's order, they surged towards the three pets sleeping comfortably in the open space in front of them. Bang, 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 bang. Ouch. There were bursts of screams, and within a short time, the three pets were dragged in front of Li Taixing by their respective twin brothers. However, at this moment, their faces were covered with bruises and swelling, and they no longer looked like their original appearance at all. They were all so fat that they looked like roast suckling pigs from before. Do you know why I want to beat you? Li Taixing stared at them fiercely. Seeing Li Taihang angry, they all shuddered and stood up one by one. Even the giant crocodile king stood up quickly when he saw the other two companions standing. This was the first time he learned to stand on 2 feet. Damn it, I asked you to guard the door, but you all huddled together for warmth and slept together. Are you sleeping comfortably? Li Taihang smiled at Xianxia. Xianxia nodded quickly when he saw Li Taihang smiling. Still comfortable? Li Taihang suddenly roared, scaring them to shudder again. Now, I have to punish you. Li Taihang's words made the 3 pets confused. Isn't the beating just now considered a punishment? Silly bird, you crawl like Ma Jia. Li Taihang pointed at the silly bird. The silly bird was shocked. How could this be possible? His face turned red and he looked ashamed. Ha! Woo woo. Ma Jia and Xianxia laughed immediately. However, Li Taihang's eyes fell on the 2 of them again. Ma Jia, you learn to walk straight like Xianxia. Ma Jia's face turned green. He had just laughed at others, but he didn't expect it would be his turn. After hearing this, Xianxia burst into laughter. Xianxia, it's funny, isn't it? Xianxia stopped laughing immediately, but he still held it back and couldn't help laughing again with a puff. You, learn to fly like the silly bird. Li Taihang pointed at the silly bird and said. Xianxia was dumbfounded. Looking at his 2 bare paws, how could he fly? Who doesn't do it? I will ask their brothers to take care of it. As soon as Li Taihang finished speaking, all the summoned replica pets began to show off their muscles and bodies. Xianxia, silly bird, Ma Jia. Chapter 55 Wind Wolf Lair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Taixing looked at the 3 panting pets lying on the open ground, and called their twin brothers back. At this time, Xianxia, silly bird, and Ma Jia all breathed a sigh of relief. From now on, when I am resting, at least one of you will be the gatekeeper for me. Otherwise, I will see how I deal with you next time. Do you understand? This time, the 3 pets surprisingly nodded in unison. They didn't want to do it again. Fortunately, no other ferocious beasts saw it. Otherwise, where would they put their old faces? Speaking of which, they were in the foundation building realm after all, and they usually didn't put in as much effort as they did today. But today, perhaps because of threats, shame, and pressure, they felt that today was no different than usual. Li Taihang ignored the thoughts of these 3 pets, hooked his hand at Xianxia and said, "Come here." Xianxia quickly walked over. Li Taihang took out a na ring and asked, "Do you know how to use a na ring?" Xianxia shook his head and pointed at his finger. It seemed like he couldn't put it on. And, more importantly, in the eyes of humans, the size of Neji seems to be suitable, but in their eyes, it still looks a bit small. With a thought in his mind, Li Taixing used a clue to string together the na ring, and then put it on Xianxia's neck. Imagine how much roasted suckling pig you want to eat. Xianxia nodded and thought of a mountain of roasted suckling pig, and sure enough, it appeared. Don't waste your fucking time. Also, when you eat, just be full. You are not allowed to overeat. Otherwise, I will break your legs. Do you understand? Li Taihang gave Xianxia the ring and taught it how to use it. Fortunately, the ferocious beasts that have reached the foundation building level have a certain degree of wisdom and are not slow to learn. After Xianxia learned how to put away the roasted suckling pig, Li Taixing nodded with satisfaction. From now on, if I'm not here, you will just eat this. If you are tired of eating, you can find prey to eat by yourself. Do you understand? The 3 pets nodded together. Okay, I'm going to have some activities, so you just stay here. After saying that, Li Taixing disappeared. He is now going to find a new target. As for training, he is already so powerful. Wouldn't it be nice to train a few more pets and use them as illustrated guides? However, he has done everything that flies in the sky, swims in the water, and runs on the ground. Now, Li Taihang just wants to find some practical beasts, so, he shuttled through the jungle, disturbing many ferocious beasts along the way, but they were unable to detect Li Taihang at all. Even if any of these ferocious beasts were able to spot him, Li Taihang would soon disappear. This made them feel a little strange and thought it was an illusion. After all, Li Taixing's teleportation ability was too fast. Soon, Li Taihang discovered a lair ahead, with many wolves living in it. Hey, is this the Wind Wolf's lair? After Li Taixing saw it, he immediately became interested. This Wind Wolf is not bad. He caught it as a mount. It is also quite domineering, and its ability to run on land is also very powerful. Okay, this time the target is you. Just as Li Taixing was talking, he came to Fenlong's lair and started to act provocatively. Wind Wolf King, get out of here. When the Wind Wolves heard the human voice, they were suddenly startled and looked at Li Taihang, but they saw Li Taixing standing outside them, staring at them and hooking his hands at them, very provocatively. Ouch! Suddenly, the Wind Wolves were very angry. A Wind Wolf turned into an afterimage and attacked Li Taihang. Snapped. Li Taixing was hit and flew backwards. Ding. It is detected that the host is under attack, and the tens of billions multiplier effect is activated. The host's defense value has been filled up, and attack damage of the same level can be ignored. Li Taixing was immediately shocked. Just now, I accidentally let a Wind Wolf sneak attack me, but I didn't expect to get such benefits. Suddenly, Li Taixing showed joy again and said, okay, not bad. Li Taixing became bolder now. He stood up and continued walking forward, and the Wind Wolves inside were also a little confused when they saw the unharmed Li Taixing, especially the Wind Wolf that had just attacked Li Taihang. It had just seen Li Taihang vomiting blood and flew away, so why was it now so full of life again? Li Taixing arrived at Fenlong's lair. When those Wind Wolves saw that he dared to come over, they were furious and all charged towards Li Taihang again. Whoosh whoosh. The afterimages of Wind Wolf flashed past. This was one of Wind Wolf's signature skills, glimpse. Whenever they rushed to Li Taihang's side, they would slap out their wolf claws, as if they wanted to kill Li Taihang. However, Li Taihang was not afraid. Snapped. Crack. Ouch. After hitting Li Taihang one by one, the Wind Wolves howled miserably and retreated back. It hurts. They looked at the human in front of them in disbelief. Why did they feel that what they were photographing was not a human, but a piece of hard stone, which could also be damaged by shock? They howled and did not dare to attack Li Taihang easily. Li Taihang couldn't help but smile and said, is this all you have? Ouch. Seeing that they were unable to fight in close combat, the Wind Wolves activated other abilities. Suddenly, wind blades appeared above their heads. As the Wind Wolves swung towards Li Taihang, all the wind blades seemed to have eyes and spun towards Li Taihang. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, Li Taihang was instantly submerged by the wind blades all over the sky. However, when they thought Li Taihang was dead, they suddenly found that Li Taihang walked out of their attack intact, which immediately shocked all the Wind Wolves. Whoa. No. The Wind Wolves thought Li Taihang was a devil, and they had to call for reinforcements. Soon, more Wind Wolves came towards them. The Wind Wolf King was also alarmed. He had heard from the noise outside that there was an enemy attacking outside. Moreover, his tribesmen were unable to deal with this enemy. This made the Wind Wolf King a little unhappy. He suddenly felt that these tribesmen were really useless, and had no choice but to fight in person. After the Wind Wolf King came out, Li Taihang's eyes lit up. He was just thinking about how to deal with these Wind Wolves and lure out the Wind Wolf King, but he didn't expect the Wind Wolf King to come out by himself. The arrogant Wind Wolf King, with his arrogant head raised, stood at the highest point and looked at Li Taihang with the corner of his eyes. Suddenly, Li Taihang walked in the air and came in front of the Wind Wolf King, and said with a smirk on his face, Wind Wolf King, do you surrender? After that, thousands of Qinyue swords were all aimed at the Wind Wolf King. Woof! The Wind Wolf King was so scared that he almost fell from the height. Chapter 56, Poking the Spider's Nest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You have no martial ethics. If the Wind Wolf King could speak, he would definitely say so, but Li Taihang didn't care about that, but stared at the Wind Wolf King, looking at it, and said, how? Surrender? Or get on the grill? The Wind Wolf King swallowed his saliva secretly. In its eyes, the human in front of it was a madman. How could there be such a hateful human? He showed his sword right at the beginning. It's okay if you show your sword, but do you have to use thousands of swords? It scared it so much that the image of the Wind Wolf King was completely lost. People who didn't know it would think it was a dog, however, the Wind Wolf King was still a little tough. He asked it to surrender right at the beginning. No way, at least we have to fight first. So, the Wind Wolf King was a little unconvinced, but he didn't dare to be too loud, just whimpered in a low voice. Don't cry, crying is useless. Which eye of mine did you see crying? The Wind Wolf King was a little indignant. He just said that he was wronged and didn't want to surrender like this, but Taihang would not indulge it. Seeing that it still did not surrender, he said, it seems that I have to put you on the grill. Taihang shook his head, and suddenly, the flying swords in the sky suddenly retreated, but still aimed at it, making it feel like it was being stared at by the god of death. Taihang raised his right hand. Seeing this, the Wind Wolf King quickly knelt down and raised the two wolf claws in front of him, looking like he was surrendering. At the same time, he could only whimper helplessly and hand over his essence. After seeing this, the wind wolves below all cried out in grief. Did their king just succumb to the human feet in front of them? Very good, that's good, hand over your essence. Taihang then collected the essence of the Wind Wolf King. Ding. Congratulations on conquering the Wind Wolf King, obtaining a 10 billion times amplification effect, and obtaining the Wind Wolf King * 10 billion. Note that this replica is not rational, but is absolutely loyal to the host. After Taihang subdued the Wind Wolf King, he landed in front of it, stretched out his hand, patted the Wind Wolf King's head, and said, Xiaofeng, you will know in the future that becoming this young master's pet is a happy thing. The Wind Wolf King thought to himself, whether it was true or not, he didn't know, but he knew that his master was a fool. However, the Wind Wolf King has now accepted his fate. In the situation just now, if he didn't surrender, he would have to reincarnate. He still knows how to choose between surrender and reincarnation. Hee hee. The Wind Wolf King smiled with narrowed eyes and made a low sound. Taihang touched its wolf head, and then said, Xiaofeng, go take a bath, the master doesn't like to ride a smelly wolf mount. Taihang found that none of these fierce beasts pay attention to hygiene. The Wind Wolf King nodded, without any resistance. Anyway, whatever Taihang said was what it was. Then, the Wind Wolf King went to the nearby river channel, took a bath, and then went ashore. After going ashore, Taihang let it dry itself. The Wind Wolf King first shook off most of the moisture on his body, and then after a few glances, he blew all the hair on his body dry. After the Wind Wolf King did all this, he looked at Taihang and stuck out his tongue in his mouth, just like a husky. Taihang nodded with satisfaction and said, okay, good job. Then, he rode on the Wind Wolf King and began to shuttle through the jungle under the guidance of the Wind Wolf King. Most of the beasts had not reacted yet, and they had disappeared. After running for a while, they appeared on a cliff. The Wind Wolf King stopped and looked at Taihang on his body. Taihang thought for a while and asked, Xiaofeng, do you know if there are any powerful beasts around here? The Wind Wolf King tilted his head, as if thinking about something, and suddenly took Taihang over the cliff and went to the basin opposite. When they came to the outside of the basin, the two of them could see a spider nest in it, surrounded by spiders of different sizes. Suddenly, the Wind Wolf King pointed forward. Apparently, this was the place it was looking for. Are you talking about this spider nest? Taihang asked. The Wind Wolf King nodded. Speaking of which, he had fought with the Spider Queen in this spider nest several times, but the Wind Wolf King suffered a lot. The main reason was that the Spider Queen was too fertile. The large number of offspring caused it psychological trauma. Finally, it had to move. So, in the eyes of the Wind Wolf King, the Spider Queen was a powerful beast. After all, being able to give birth is also a skill. Taihang thought about it and thought it was feasible, so he said, then I will take in a Spider Queen. Although Taihang thought these furry and ugly things were very scary, however, as long as the other party has characteristics, it would be good for him to subdue them. So, Taihang asked the Wind Wolf King to lead it out. The Wind Wolf King nodded. Taihang got off the Wind Wolf King, and the Wind Wolf King jumped into the basin. Without the restraint of his tribe, the Wind Wolf King completely let himself go. A gust of wind swept away all the spiders in the basin. This sudden change also scared other spiders, including the Spider Queen. The spiders began to come out to support and found the Wind Wolf King. They rushed over like crazy. At the same time, the spider webs covered the Wind Wolf King. Seeing this, the Wind Wolf King opened his mouth and a series of wind blades flew out, instantly cutting the attacking spider webs into countless pieces. Then, he sprayed a gust of wind and cloud at the spiders again, sweeping over and overturning the waves of spiders in front of him, blowing them out of the basin, and falling heavily to the ground, killing them on the spot. Seeing that the Wind Wolf King was so powerful, the other spiders stopped rushing, but dispersed and attacked the Wind Wolf King from all directions. But the Wind Wolf King was not afraid of these minions, and dodged without saying a word. Seeing that the attack failed, the spiders did not intend to let the Wind Wolf King go, but gathered together and attacked the Wind Wolf King again. Boom! However, the Wind Wolf King was another gust of wind and cloud, throwing the spiders in front of him into the sky again, and then falling to the ground of the basin like rain, smashing them to pieces on the spot. The Wind Wolf King did not stop because of this, and continued to destroy the basin. After all, its main task was to lure the Spider Queen out, and the Spider Queen seemed to have noticed it. Hiss! Under the call of the Spider Queen, a large number of spiders came out in a mighty manner, pouring out like a flood. After seeing this, Taihang was shocked. This Spider Queen is really fertile. Is she trying to fill up the basin? But when the Wind Wolf King saw so many spiders emerging, and the Spider Queen personally led the team, this time, it did not dare to be careless and immediately jumped out of the basin. Chapter 57 Convincing the Spider Queen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Wind Wolf King came to Taihang and looked at the increasing number of spiders below. It can't speak, otherwise it would definitely sigh. Taihang put the main target on the Spider Queen. As for these spiders, Qin Feng's mind moved, and he took out a pottery jar filled with kerosene, and then threw it down. Suddenly, a large number of kerosene cans fell into the basin down the mountain like rain. Crack! Suddenly, one by one, they exploded, and the kerosene poured onto the ground or fell on the spiders, but it just disturbed them and did not cause them too much trouble. Then, there were at least hundreds of thousands of kerosene cans in the entire basin, and the ground was almost covered with kerosene. And the spiders spread the kerosene on their bodies during their wandering. Unfortunately, they didn't know it was kerosene. The Wind Wolf King also didn't know what Taihang threw, but he thought that Taihang threw these things to kill these spiders, but in the end, not a single one was killed, and she was speechless. When the Spider Queen saw a large number of kerosene cans falling from the sky, she didn't know what these liquids were for, and even stretched out one of her hands to pick up some, ate a little, and immediately sprayed it out, obviously not liking it. Then, she roared at Taihang with some dissatisfaction. Obviously, she was angry at Taihang's behavior. Taihang ignored it, but took out a torch, lit it, and then threw it into the basin. The Spider Queen was very disdainful when she saw the torch. Although they were afraid of flames, there was only one flame, so she didn't care at all. Boom! As a result, because of this torch, the whole basin suddenly ignited a raging fire. Gurgle! The Wind Wolf King next to him was immediately frightened, thinking that the master said that he would roast it at that time, but it didn't believe it. But now, after seeing the miserable state of the spiders below, it completely believed it this time. Beep, snap! The spiders were engulfed by the flames, and countless people were killed or injured. It was useless for them to escape because the flames were everywhere. As for the Spider Queen, because of her own strength, although the kerosene did not burn her to death, it also burned her, causing multiple injuries on her body. The Spider Queen was furious. All her subordinates were gone, leaving only her. She sprayed a large area of spider webs towards Taihang, which fell from the sky. As long as Taihang did not run, he would definitely be stuck, but Taihang was not panicked, and his mind moved. Suddenly, a number of blue moon swords flew out, and under Taihang's operation, all of them pierced through the spider webs, and then the spider webs were stopped. Not only that, the spider webs that covered her were very strong in themselves, but they were carried back by these flying swords. The Spider Queen looked at the spider webs brought back by the blue moon swords. And she was a little confused. It tried to escape, but the speed of the blue moon sword was obviously faster than it. Hiss! Suddenly, the Spider Queen was stuck in her own web, and she was crying. There was actually someone stuck in her own web. This wave of operations also made the Wind Wolf King dumbfounded. The Wind Wolf King looked at his master and felt that his moves and routines were always so unexpected. Taihang rode on the Wind Wolf King and said, "Let's go down. It's time to talk to it." "Oh whoa." The Wind Wolf King was very excited and rushed to the basin below with Taihang. At this time, the ground had already burned out, and the aroma of roasted spider meat was everywhere, which made the Wind Wolf King want to eat it. However, thinking of these disgusting spiders, it suddenly gave up. "Spider Queen, my name is Taihang. I plan to take you as my pet. If you agree, give me your essence. If you don't agree, I don't mind fighting you again." The Spider Queen suddenly sprayed a ball of venom at the approaching Taihang. The Wind Wolf King saw this and blew the venom back with a wind whistle. "Zizizi." Hiss. The Spider Queen howled miserably. She didn't expect that she was trapped in her own web just now, and now she was sprayed with her own venom. Suddenly, her whole body began to rot, and with the previous burning of the flames, she looked very miserable. After seeing this, Taihang felt a little reluctant and said, "From your appearance, you are unwilling to hand over your essence." Taihang could only change his strategy and said, "Think about it, if you die now, you will have nothing. However, there is a saying that it is better to live than to die, which means that it is better to be alive than to die, so that you can continue what you want to do. Spider Queen, there is always someone stronger than you. You are not as good as me, so you were defeated by me. So, you don't have to worry about it. You are just not as good as others." Taihang's words also made the Wind Wolf King nod his head in agreement. After all, he was defeated by the Spider Queen's violent soldiers. "You can either die now and end it all, or follow me and serve me. After all, you are defeated by me now." Taihang looked at the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen has an upper body in the form of a human woman, and a lower body that is a huge spider body. It stared at the human in front of it, and then looked at its old rival, the Wind Wolf King. At this time, the Wind Wolf King was staring at it warily. Obviously, it would not give it a chance to kill Taihang. However, asking the Spider Queen to give up her freedom and follow Taihang, she couldn't do it. Hiss. The Spider Queen showed determination and raised her head, not looking at Taixing. Taixing frowned when he saw this, and suddenly said in a cold tone, "I have already said good things to you. Since you are unwilling, I can only get rid of you. Then, I will find another Spider Queen." "I don't believe it. The only one here is you, the Spider Queen. Since the soft one is not enough, then use the hard one." When the Spider Queen heard Taihang's words, her expression changed. She knew that if Taihang went to find another Spider Queen, he would definitely find one as long as he was willing to look for it. Therefore, it glared at Taixing with a look of reluctance. Seeing this, Taixing said again, "Don't worry, I won't treat you badly if you follow me. You see, the Wind Wolf King is also following me, as well as the Giant Bird Monster King, the Bear Spirit, and the Giant Crocodile King. They are following me. And you are not the only ferocious beast, so you don't have to feel wronged." With that said, Taixing summoned one of each of the clones. When the Spider Queen saw these 3 clones, she was very shocked. Chapter 58: The Effect of Inner Elixir on Pets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How strong is this human being in front of me? He actually has so many king-level ferocious beasts. This made the Spider Queen quite stunned, and she couldn't help but start thinking, what would happen if she became the pet of the human in front of her? As for the deaths of those tribesmen, to be honest, as long as it is willing to live, there are more tribesmen, so it is not very angry about Taihang and Wind Wolf King killing its tribesmen. After all, it is a cold-blooded beast. In the end, the Spider Queen no longer hesitated and gave her essence. "Very good, you made a clear choice." Taixing was very happy with its performance and collected its essence. Ding. Congratulations on conquering the Spider Queen, triggering the tens of billions multiplier effect, and you get the Spider Queen *10 billion. After hearing the system prompt, Taixing did not feel very happy. He was numb now, and, having obtained so many ferocious beasts, he was afraid that the whole world would tremble if he released them. Of course, Taihang was not crazy enough to destroy the world, and even said he wanted to occupy the world. After all, his dream is to become an immortal. Okay, I have collected enough pets during this period. Next, we may try to challenge the ferocious beasts by jumping through levels. Taihang thought about the map, took it out, and took a look at the depths of the forest of fierce beasts. Suddenly, he discovered that their location was quite close to the forest of ferocious beasts. However, when entering the forest of ferocious beasts, the weakest ferocious beasts are also at the foundation building level. Although I have a few ferocious beasts at the king level, I can still deal with the average golden elixir level. If I deal with the golden elixir level and above, there will be some. It's dangerous. No matter what, let's try it first. Taihang decided to find an ordinary golden elixir realm ferocious beast to practice his skills with, so, he took the Spider Queen and the Wind Wolf King to the depths of the forest of ferocious beasts. Xiaozhu, Xiaofeng, now we are preparing to enter the depths of the forest of ferocious beasts, please be vigilant. They didn't need Taihang to remind them, they also knew to be vigilant. First, find an ordinary ferocious beast in Jindan territory to practice shooting with. Are you familiar with it? The Spider Queen is still somewhat familiar with this place, so she acts as a guide. Okay, Xiaozhu, you lead the way. The Spider Queen nodded and led the way. Speaking of which, although they are in the foundation building realm, they are still kings and are already close to the golden elixir realm. Therefore, there is no fear at all when they follow Taihang and enter here. Hiss. At this time, the Spider Queen stopped, stretched out her hand, and pointed forward. Taihang looked ahead through the trees and saw a giant python. Is this a giant python in the golden core realm? The Spider Queen nodded. Taihang thought for a while and said, okay, Xiaozhu, go up and meet it for a while. The Spider Queen didn't hesitate at all. After rushing out, she sprayed venom directly at the giant python in front of her. When the giant python saw someone sneaking up on it, it evaded flexibly. However, the Spider Queen's venom shot out like water jets one after another. Soon, the giant python became a little confused. However, the giant python also discovered the Spider Queen, and suddenly became furious and rushed towards the Spider Queen. Hiss. Boo-hoo. The Spider Queen sprayed out a spider web and covered it towards the giant python. Because the giant python was charging head-on, it had no time to dodge and was restrained by the spider web. The giant python was struggling desperately, as if trying to escape, but how could the Spider Queen let it get what it wanted? She rushed forward and sprayed venom on its head. Zitsy. Suddenly, the venom corroded the giant python's head, leaving a piece of exposed flesh and blood. Even its skull was visible, and the pain made the giant python keep rolling. At this time, the Spider Queen also used her sharp spikes to stab the giant python in the head. The location was exactly where the giant python was corroded. A single blow penetrated directly, and a clear sound of broken bones was heard. Crack. Suddenly, the giant python fell down and died with its eyes closed. The Spider Queen dug into its body and quickly took out a giant python pill from inside. Hey, what is this? The pets cannot speak and, therefore, have no way of replying to him. Taihang didn't care so much and put away the giant python pill first. Ding. Congratulations on getting the Python Inner Elixir *1, which has a tens of billions multiplier effect. Congratulations on getting the Python Inner Elixir *10 billion. It turns out to be the giant python's inner elixir. There are actually 10 billion of them. However, these inner elixirs are most suitable for feeding poisonous beasts. Taihang suddenly thought of the Spider Queen. Can you eat it? The Spider Queen showed a look of longing, but she didn't dare to take it. Eat, you did a good job, you can eat if you want. The Spider Queen's eyes lit up, she glanced at Taihang gratefully, and then swallowed the Python Inner Elixir. After that, she began to practice to refine the power of the giant Python Inner Elixir in her body. When Taihang saw this, he stopped moving forward and asked the Wind Wolf King to guard him while he also observed from the side. It turns out that the ferocious beast inner elixir can improve the strength of pets. Yes, it seems that I need to hunt more ferocious beasts. In this way, my pet can also be upgraded. Currently, Li Taihang's 5 pets each have their own attributes. The first is the boss, Xianxia, a bear spirit with earth attributes. The second child, Silly Bird, is a giant bird monster king with wind attributes. The third one, Majia, is a giant crocodile king with water attribute. The fourth one, Xiaofeng, is a wind wolf king with wind attribute. The fifth one, Xiaozhu, is a spider queen with poison attribute. This also made Li Taihang understand the target he would hunt in the next round. Soon, Li Taihang made a new plan. Ordinary fierce beasts were plundered, killed, and their inner elixir was used to cultivate his own pets. The king of fierce beasts, captured, became his new pet, and then continued to cultivate them to make them his powerful fighting force. Thinking about it, suddenly, the spider queen's devouring was over. Seeing it so fast, Li Taihang observed the changes on its body and found that the body with some scars was actually restored. Does the inner elixir also have the effect of restoring your injuries? Li Taihang asked curiously. The spider queen and the wind wolf king didn't know how to answer Li Taihang, so they could only nod and shake their heads, which confused Li Taihang. However, it also made him understand that if there is no language communication, it is really troublesome. Forget it, there are still inner pills here. You eat more, I'll see the changes. Li Taihang displayed a bunch of giant python inner pills, at least hundreds of them, which made the spider queen dumbfounded. How many giant pythons did the master kill? There are so many inner pills. The wind wolf king also looked at Li Taihang in shock, feeling that he couldn't see through his master. At the same time, after seeing Li Taihang's generosity, he felt that he had followed the right master. Chapter 59 Inner Elixir to Improve Pet Level. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Feng, how about a few? Li Taixing looked at the Wind Wolf King, pointed at the giant python inner elixir on the ground, and asked. The Wind Wolf King shook his head. These inner elixirs are not suitable for it. Not only will it not help it, but eating too much will even affect its body, which may even lead to its death. You think these are not suitable for you? Li Taixing guessed. The Wind Wolf King nodded. Oh, so the wind attribute inner elixir should be suitable for you. The Wind Wolf King nodded quickly and looked at Li Taihang expectantly. Li Taixing rolled his eyes at it and said, there is none now, but as long as you can get the inner elixir, your master will give you more inner elixirs. The Wind Wolf King's eyes lit up when he heard this. It stretched out its wolf claws and pointed first at itself, then at the forest. Li Taixing said, do you want to go hunting now? Woo! Wind Wolf King responded. There's no rush. Li Taixing looked at the pile of giant python inner elixirs on the ground and said, wait until Xiaozhu finishes eating these giant python inner elixirs. After hearing this, the Wind Wolf King could only lower his head, looking a little disappointed. Looking at your virtue, what's so disappointing? Now Xiaozhu needs someone else to protect him, and your master and I are not strong. What's wrong with you protecting us here? The Wind Wolf King's eyes widened with disbelief on his face. Are you weak? You sure? The Wind Wolf King thought of the scene where he was surrounded by thousands of Qinghua swords. If the master was weak, then what were they? Scumbag? Or is there no scum left? Li Taihang ignored the Wind Wolf King and urged, Xiaozhu, eat quickly. The Spider Queen saw so many python inner elixirs on the ground, even though she was greedy for 10 minutes. But it felt that the environment here was not suitable for swallowing so many inner elixirs. If there were 2 of them, it would be done quickly. If so many appeared at once, it would be in trouble if it would attract the attention of other ferocious beasts in the process of swallowing them. Therefore, the Spider Queen shook her head, pointed at the giant python inner elixir on the ground, and then pointed in the direction of the spider's lair. Li Taixing frowned and thought, you mean, you want to go back to the spider lair to devour it? Are you afraid it's not safe outside? The Spider Queen showed a smile. Although she had a woman's face, she was not beautiful. At the same time, he gave Li Taihang a thumbs up. The corners of Li Taixing's mouth twitched. Okay, let's go. Li Taixing probably guessed something. After all, the quantity was quite large. It would indeed take a long time to devour it outside. An accident occurred in the middle, which was also very bad, so, Li Taihang collected all the python inner elixirs. As the python's inner elixir disappeared and the ground became empty, the Spider Queen was a little confused. Xiao Zhu, don't worry, the master has collected them all and will give them to you later. When the Spider Queen heard this, she nodded happily. Then he motioned to Li Taixing to ride on it, but Li Taixing had a mysophobia and said, if it is not cleaned, I will dislike it. I'll just ride Xiaofeng. Then, Li Taihang came to the Wind Wolf King, and the Wind Wolf King consciously knelt down and let Li Taihang ride up. The Spider Queen looked at Li Taixing with some resentment. Set off. Later, they returned to the spider lair together. After they left, Wang Xuanwu's forehead was full of black lines, and he looked at several powerful beasts that were startled around him. Among them, there was even a nascent soul realm beast that passed by. At this time, they were all beaten by Wang Xuanwu. Lying on the ground, motionless, not knowing whether to live or die. She really wants to punish Li Taixing now, because Li Taixing has no common sense at all. This brat has displayed so many python inner elixirs at once. Its breath alone is enough to attract a large number of ferocious beasts of the same attribute. If I hadn't been here, I'm afraid there would have been a fight now. However, Wang Xuanwu basically realized that there must be something in Li Taixian that could allow Li Taixing to turn one thing into countless things. However, from beginning to end, she never noticed anything strange about Li Taixing, although Wang Xuanwu was puzzled. When he saw the bodies of several ferocious beasts on the ground, he immediately smiled evilly. If I use their inner elixirs to give to my apprentice, I can probably exchange them for a lot of good things, right? Thinking of this, she felt as if she was swimming in a sea full of meat and wine. Li Taixing didn't know his master's lust. On the way back, he found that there seemed to be a lot more ferocious beasts around him. What's going on? Li Taixing frowned. At this time, the Spider Queen pointed to her mouth. Do you want to say that your bad breath is the cause? Li Taihang said. The Spider Queen's upper body suddenly became limp, and she was really overwhelmed by Li Taixing. Ah! The Spider Queen had no choice but to use her hands to make the appearance of the python pill, and then pretended to swallow it. Li Taixing suddenly realized it and said, oh, let me tell you, bad breath can keep people away. You can't attract them instead, unless they are a group of perverts. Ah! Spider Queen was very embarrassed. Ahem. Li Taixing realized that he had gone too far and said, okay, I'll let you take another 1,000 inner elixirs later, okay? That the Spider Queen's eyes lit up and she nodded her head, turning her shame and annoyance into happiness. At the same time, it also secretly remembered that this was an owner with a mysophobia. When the Wind Wolf King heard this, he suddenly stopped and pointed at his mouth. Go away, don't think I don't know what you are thinking. Woo woo. The Wind Wolf King could only continue walking in frustration. They soon returned to the spider's nest, and Li Taihang also understood that the appearance of the giant python's inner pill and its smell attracted a lot of fierce beasts, although Li Taihang could not feel this smell, and the Wind Wolf King did not feel it strongly, for fierce beasts of the same nature. It was like a person who had been hungry for a long time smelling a fragrance from a distance. Well, I will pay more attention in the future. Soon after, they returned to the spider's nest. The Spider Queen ran to the deepest part and used spider silk to seal the space, intending to completely isolate the smell. In this way, there is no need to worry about being discovered by other fierce beasts. Seeing this, Li Taihang placed 1,000 giant python inner pills in front of the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen was immediately intoxicated. The Wind Wolf King on the side drooled with envy. Ah! The Spider Queen began to devour the inner elixir of the giant python, and as it devoured and refined one, the power in its body increased by 1 point. Slowly, Li Taihang discovered that the Spider Queen had already shown signs of a breakthrough, and the giant python's inner elixir had only swallowed about 100. This surprised Li Taihang. Damn, it's only 100, and the Spider Queen has shown signs of breaking through the golden core realm. If there are more, and if the other pets are the same. Li Taihang didn't dare to imagine it anymore, and at the same time, he realized the importance of collecting inner elixirs of other attributes. Chapter 60 The Evolution of the Spider Queen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Buzz. Suddenly, the Spider Queen began to transform. Taihang found that her body was covered with countless spider webs. What's going on? Is she going to evolve? Taihang looked at the Wind Wolf King next to him. The Wind Wolf King nodded. Taihang was very surprised, and then looked at the giant python inner pill on the ground. He had only swallowed more than 200 pills, thinking that he had 10 billion pills on his body. If the Spider Queen refined them all, I wonder how big the change would be. But is it really that simple? Seeing that the Spider Queen had begun to evolve, Taihang didn't know how long it would take to evolve, and couldn't help feeling a little bored, so, he looked at the Wind Wolf King and said, "Will this evolution take a long time?" The Wind Wolf King shook his head. Taihang thought about it and said, "Forget it. Just stay here for a few days." Anyway, he had given Xianxia and the others enough food. Even if they didn't have enough to eat, they could go hunting for game by themselves, and they didn't have to worry about it. Taihang was able to provide them with a lot of food. Feng Wolf King originally thought it was boring to stay here, but after Taihang gave it food, it was not bored at all. Another week passed. Crack. Suddenly, they heard a sound and looked at the huge spider cocoon in front of them, which was beginning to be torn apart. Taihang and Feng King looked over together and saw that after the spider webs broke, a figure emerged from it. Golden Core Realm. Yes, the Spider Queen has officially entered the Golden Core Realm. Not only that, her appearance is more like a human, and even her originally dark skin has become abnormally white and tender, like the skin of a young girl. Her face is countless times more beautiful than before. From a distance, she looks like a beautiful and sexy woman, which makes people feel moved. Of course, if it weren't for the fact that her lower body still looked like a spider, they would have thought that the Spider Queen had evolved into a human woman. Master. At this time, a crisp sentence emerged in Taihang's mind. Who? Taihang didn't know who it was, and looked around. Master, it's me. Taihang confirmed the voice again, and finally determined that the voice came from the Spider Queen. However, Taihang found that the voice came from his mind. Xiaozhu? Taihang called in a low voice. Master, I can hear it. The Spider Queen's voice was intermittent, and it seemed that she was not very adapted. Taihang was very happy. Ha, good. Have you reached the Golden Core Realm and have this kind of spiritual communication ability? Yes. Okay, I know. At this time, the Wind Wolf King stared at Taihang in confusion, wondering why he was talking to himself. Could it be that he has been in here for a long time? Was he bored? Wouldn't he suddenly want to kill the wolf? Thinking of this, the Wind Wolf King hid aside in fear. What are you doing? Taihang looked at the Wind Wolf King who was doing strange things. The Wind Wolf King shook his head quickly, but stared at Taihang with great vigilance, fearing that he would do something surprising. Okay, since Xiaozhu has completed the evolution, let's go back first. Master, where are you going? Go kill a few fierce beasts of wind, earth and water attributes, and get some fierce beast inner pills. Okay. Xiaofeng, come here. Taihang called the Wind Wolf King over and prepared to ride it out, but the Wind Wolf King was hesitant and did not come immediately. At this time, the Spider Queen said happily, Master, how about riding me? Taihang felt cold. Forget it, I'll ride Xiaofeng. After saying that, she glared at the Wind Wolf King again, and the Wind Wolf King approached cautiously. As a result, after approaching, Taihang gave it a big slap and said, Boy, your wings are hard, and you don't listen to my words. The Wind Wolf King looked at Taihang aggrievedly. Then, Taihang rode on the Wind Wolf King and took the Spider Queen with him to leave the spider's nest. Then, they came to the depths of the fierce beast forest. Xiaozhu, we are still looking for some fierce beasts in the Jindan realm, but mainly with the 3 attributes of wind, water and earth. Okay. Master. The Spider Queen finally didn't need to gesture and could communicate with Taihang. She felt so happy. Then, the Spider Queen began to lead the way and find the target they were looking for. Soon, they found a dragon rhino in the Jindan realm, which happened to be of Earth attribute. After seeing it, Li Taihang said, "Sword sacrifice." Immediately, thousands of Qingyue swords emerged and cut the dragon rhino in the Jindan realm into a pile of meat. "Okay, see if there is an inner pill." The Spider Queen and the Wind Wolf King were speechless. This dragon rhino probably hasn't reacted yet, and it has become a pile of rotten meat. The Spider Queen stepped forward, picked it up skillfully, and soon took out a dragon rhino inner pill. "Master, there is." Li Taihang laughed and said, "Okay, let's continue looking." "Yes, master." Then, they found the fierce beasts with wind and water attributes, and after killing them, they obtained the corresponding inner elixirs with wind and water attributes. "Okay, the mission is complete, let's go back first." Li Taihang saw that he had got everything he wanted, so there was no need to waste time. "Master, where are you going?" asked the Spider Queen. "To where I live." "Okay, master." Then, Li Taihang led them to the direction of the cave. At this time, because Li Taihang had not returned for 7 days, Xianxia and the other 3 pets were a little bored every day. Suddenly, they felt Li Taihang's breath, so, they all ran over happily to greet Li Taihang, but they saw 2 big guys stopping at the same time. They looked at the 2 beasts in front of them, a Wind Wolf King and a Spider Queen, among them. The Spider Queen gave them a sense of danger, obviously its strength was above them. "Xianxia, silly bird, and Vest, you are all here, just in time. Let me introduce you to a new partner. This is Xiaozhu, the Wind Wolf King. Under me is called Xiaofeng." Li Taihang's figure appeared on the Wind Wolf King. "Xiaozhu, Xiaofeng, these are your eldest, second, and third. Now Xiaofeng is the 4th and Xiaozhu is the 5th. I'm ranking you in the order of first come first served. However, when there are more pets in the future, I will let you compete with each other and re-rank you." Li Taihang said, "And let these pets get to know each other." At the same time, he got off the body of the Wind Wolf King and was about to walk towards the cave, but at this time, he found something approaching them. Li Taihang stopped and said to the beasts behind him in a deep voice, "You go back to the cave first.